James Schramko here. Welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 1128. And today I'm going to be talking about something I see all the time, and that is founders who think they're building systems, but they're actually creating a more difficult situation for themselves, more work than what they had before. And the common complaint is, I wish it was simple and easy like it used to be. So, for example, they document everything. They write procedures. They create org charts, flow charts. Some of them even dress up in a suit when they go into their home office. And then they wonder why their team is still coming to them for every decision. So I've learned along the way that there is a big difference between documenting what you do and capturing how you think, especially in this era of AI. It's showing up big time. And one creates dependency, the other creates freedom. So let's talk about how I figured this out. We have to go way back in time. So I used to run Mercedes-Benz dealerships back in the past. About 20 years ago, I was appointed as a general manager. I was managing a Mercedes-Benz dealership, 50 million in revenue, 67 people. This was the last job I had. And during the day, I had these systems that could handle pretty much anything. I'd been learning from the best of the best. We had the highest paid consultants. I'd been doing my own research online and reading books. And all these people in my team, the salespeople, they could really deal with complex situations. We had frameworks and systems. We did role plays. The service advisors were able to diagnose problems and recommend solutions. They got impeccable training from the manufacturer. And all the other roles were covered, the parts roles, the finance roles, everything in the dealership worked well. Even the managers had frameworks. And this is what was interesting. These weren't just like step-by-step procedures. They were captured and they really brought out the best thinking processes from our best performers. I built a training register. I mapped every single person in the business, what their role is and what training they required. And when a customer, for example, objected to a price, our salespeople who were brand new, they didn't just have a word-for-word script. They had a framework for understanding why people object, how to respond to it based on the specific situation. I'll give you a really good example of this. We used to track sales in a spreadsheet at the front desk. Back then it was on a G drive. This is before the cloud. One of the columns was lost sale, reason why. And if I noticed that people were buying a different product than ours over and over again, I would go down to that manufacturer. I would get one of their cars. I would bring it back to the sales team and we would train on that. We would pull it apart. We'd identify every possible positive and negative and then build that into our process. So when a service issue came up, our advisors had diagnostic tools that basically mimic how our best technicians would approach problems. They'd have the very best technicians would be hyphened off into masterclasses and they'd go and do extra training at the manufacturer and they'd come back and teach the rest of the team. But the funny thing is, like at this time at night, I was working my online business. So I got this massive contrast. I had info products. I was selling the XSP cheat sheet. I was doing affiliate partnerships. So I was selling software, a lot of software. I was doing SEO services for myself and then starting to branch out into client work. But everything required me. It was just me. Like every single situation, every piece of content, all the sales copy, every bit of website, all the emails, all the help desk was just me, and it was way too much. But by day, I had this fully automated system that virtually made myself redundant. And by night, it was just me. And it was like such a slap in the face. And one of my family members at that time actually said, you are going to work yourself to death if you keep this up. 12 hours at the dealership, 6 days a week, and then working 5 or 6 hours on my own business from like midnight till 3 in the morning, or 9 or 10 at night till 3 in the morning. And she was probably right. I had a timeline. I knew I was burning the candle at both ends. And you know that saying, the candle that burns at both ends, it burns twice as bright and it lasts half as long. So I'm sitting there like at 2 or 3 in the morning, like starting to fall asleep on the keyboard, and I'm like working on sales pages. And I just like, I don't have enough time. I've got to get to this. I've got to get this. I just overwhelmed with ideas. And then I had this thought, what if I could apply what I knew about systems from the dealership to my little tiny business. It was like a huge breakthrough. I mean, I used to sit there in the dealership looking around at all the staff thinking, imagine if they were working on content, or they were building the website and they were doing the traffic campaigns. Imagine that. And so there was 67 people there working in the dealership, and it was a really low margin. I don't know if you know this, but dealerships in Australia, probably this is a global thing, they're lucky if they make 1 or 2% of revenue as profit. So a $50 million a year dealership will be lucky to pull $1 million profit. You're sure they're paying the rent on the property that they own, and that's how generational wealth happens. But there's huge costs. You've got all staff, all Western staff. You've got stock. You've got all the constraints of dealing in a massive product. Like a car is a big thing. You've also got to pay all this taxes and stuff. There's never enough parking. You have to get on with the local community. You are territorially locked into just a small geographic footprint because there's 7 other dealers all scattered around you that could do exactly the same product. It was tough. And I was just thinking, imagine if I took all of this, applied it to my online stuff. And so a lot of founders, in my experience, they try to document process. I've seen like these Frankenstein wikis, outrageously complicated things. They go too far. They get all bureaucratic and make these monstrosities. And then they try and do like, step 1, step 2, step 3, and they sort of break it down into crazy detail. But then something unexpected happens and it just gets lost. And usually they're not kept up to date because they're too complex. Usually the team don't know they exist or know where they are or don't follow them. And what I learned from Mercedes-Benz was to capture the intelligence instead. And I'd built frameworks and systems that were very effective in getting what we did, but they were light and easy to work with. And so how do top performers think about problems? How do the best salespeople sell better than the others? And like, it's not even close. If you had a sales team of 10 people, one person will sell nothing. One person will sell almost as many as the rest combined. And then a few of the others will sell most of it. And then the bottom few sell hardly anything. That's pretty much how it works. Like, if you took the best to the worst, they're quantum leaps. So I would take the very best and benchmark off that. What are they doing that's different? How do they adapt when the normal approach doesn't work? What are they doing to get consistent results at a high performance level? What questions do they ask? I observe them. How do they follow up? How quick are they to interact? What sort of confidence do they bring to it? How good is their product knowledge? These are all very important things. So when I needed to hire salespeople for the dealership, I didn't just write a job description and hope for the best. I built this intelligent system. I could actually run ads that pulled 180 qualified applicants. We put in the Saturday newspaper at that time. This is, again, 25 years ago. And I get 180 applicants. My filtering system got that down to 21 interviews, which I do 7 a day for 3 days in person, and then reference checks on the following day to identify the final 3 to 5 candidates, which I'd have back on the Friday, and we'd hire 2 to 4 people, and I'd train them together. And this is the part that's really cool and so different from the automotive industry. I had a 10-day induction program, and I could take someone from 0 sales experience and turn them into a better than good salesperson. I didn't even hire salespeople generally, sometimes, but mostly service people or people who were good analytical people, like pilots of an airline. They were fantastic salespeople. They could follow a system. They were analytical. So it wasn't just product knowledge, because you absolutely have to have that if you sell, and not just selling steps or sales wah-wah or charisma. I captured how experienced salespeople think about the customer psychology, how they deal with potential objections, how they build relationships with the customers. And I gave them frameworks. Now, these people went to the top of our network. They basically came into the network. They started outperforming everyone. At one point, I had 5 out of the top 6 salespeople. And the customer satisfaction scores were high. They were like we had the highest result. Mercedes-Benz corporate was so impressed that they asked me to teach the other sales managers across the state, literally my competitors. That's when I realized I've got this system intelligence that can actually be harnessed and replicated. By the way, it's exactly what I'm doing now with my AI. I have built myself an AI system that does business diagnostic overviews, planning. It does campaign building, marketing assets. It scores things. It's absolutely incredible. It does pattern and tone recognition, how to pitch properly, all these things. I've built that and I'm using that with my mentees. It's exactly the same process. So what I really hope from this episode is you'll start experimenting with building intelligent systems and installing them into your business. So I started experimenting that with my online business back then. And instead of just documenting what I do, I started capturing the decision-making frameworks. And I've built that into my team, who, by the way, have been with me since 2009 now. So that is, at the time of recording this, that's 16 years of business IP that's built up with this team. And now we know what we say to customers, how we say things. It depends on context, right? And this is what's missing from a lot of external contractors. Like my wife and I own a recruitment business for VAs. It's called Vision Find. And what we do is we go and get VAs and bring them in for our clients and give them to the client, and the client takes over. They take over their contractor, they deal with them and pay with them direct, and they build IP over time. There are other providers out there where you're just sort of renting someone for a certain number of hours per week, but they never build the IP. They get churned, they move on. There's no direct buy-in or stakeholding. And so that's a major problem. What we do is we build that IP. So over time, they're learning our customer signals. They know what we do as a business. They've got context to follow up differently with different customers based on who we're dealing with. And so we built this sort of decision logic, if you like, and we've embedded that into the culture. So how do we handle difficult situations? Well, they don't happen very often, thankfully. But we've got frameworks for de-escalation, for problem solving, relationships repair. In my business, which is recurring income, you have to work on relationships and communication far more than the one-time sale business. So also as a good affiliate, what makes a good affiliate partner? Well, I created assessment criteria based on the patterns I'd seen of all the partnership experience I'd had in the dealership. Because we had a lot of partners in the dealership. Our parts department, for example, was dealing with all the different smash repairers or car repairers in the area, and we had strong relationships. We had relationships with banks for the finance. We had relationships with the registry's office for vehicle registering. We had relationships with the factory to get us the best stock. And slowly, my team started handling complex situations without having to come to me, not because they're following scripts and not because we have some bullshit wiki in the company. It's because they had frameworks for thinking and understanding. We develop it and train on it. We still meet every single week. Every week we meet virtually for about 15 to 30 minutes and we talk through stuff. And I'm not just dumping a list of to-dos on them. We're talking about their work and what's going on and why we're doing it and how it works. And we have teaching processes. And one of my business partners, Lloyd, is a perfect example of this, right? This sort of exemplifies how it works. I met him in the surf. I didn't know this guy from a bar of soap. And eventually I got this relationship with him as a fellow surfer. And then I discovered that he worked for a big bank and that he hated his job. Oh, okay, if he's listening to this, he might disagree. He might say he didn't love it. Either way, when the end of sort of COVID lockdowns happened, he had to go back and he didn't want to. And so I said, you know what? With your skills, I think you could be really handy for my clients because a lot of them are high visionaries and out of control. If you could integrate for them, if you could be an operations guy, that would be awesome on a fractional basis. So he started working directly with my clients. And then because he's good at operations, he started building a team under him using the same approach as him. It's all, allocating responsibilities, making sure people own tasks. And now he's able to step back because his team is allocated to clients and they're thinking strategically about the client situations with some inputs from him. So they're like the speakers and he's like the amplifier. And, you can get a lot more sound if you just keep adding speakers. So they don't just follow his processes, they're using his intelligence that he's mapped across. Now, I think there's a few different types of intelligence. So let's just have a look at that. And over the years, I've tried to pull mine out into a framework. I call it a Schramko framework for two reasons. One, it's very easy for me to remember. And two, it's much harder for my competitors to copy because everyone copies my stuff all the time. I get it. It's fine. It's part of business, but it would be more difficult for them now to copy this. But it is built on these 8 steps that were coming from the foundation of the different types of intelligence that I've been working on. There's process intelligence. That's like the what to do. Like most founders stop here, and there's a whole industry on that. Do this, do this, do this. There's a scourge of new people coming online and they're just following cut and paste templates and getting rubbish results because they don't know what to do if it doesn't work, which it doesn't most of the time. There's no intelligence behind that. So it's not sufficient. You need a different type of intelligence. The next one, and this is probably really important for founders, is decision intelligence. How do you handle variations, edge cases, unexpected situations? This is where I thrive. This is where your judgment gets captured and scaled. This, by the way, is why you don't get good results out of ChatGPT, but I do. Because decision-making is such a critical skill as the stakes get higher. And then the next type of intelligence is outcome intelligence. How do you measure success and identify problems early and continuously improve based on the results? I recognized a problem today with something that I was doing. I looked at it, I could see an issue. I made a change to my software program, this was, and it said, oh, yes, this is an excellent change. I mean, it sucks up to you. You have to filter that out of it. But the change is critical. And it was a fundamental change that did two things. It protected my IP more, and it created a bigger moat between me and anyone else of what they can offer. So it was a really good change. But that is outcome intelligence. It's based on, oh, these outputs, I think I can make a modification. When you build these three layers, something interesting happens. Your team doesn't just execute. They start thinking strategically about the business. And I have heard this so many times. Why can't they just think for themselves? What were they thinking when they did that? This is a common complaint from people who aren't leading with these types of intelligences. So I eventually sold my SEO business and my website business. I actually had a team of 67, coincidentally. I got to a point where I had the same number of team as my dealership that I worked at. They did all work for me and not for someone else. We did make more profit than the dealership, and we didn't have all this headaches of stock and land, and we didn't have a geographic fence where we couldn't sell past. And this is what's really fascinating. The IP still generates significant revenue through royalty deals with partners. So I've got partnerships with people in different businesses, service providers, like SEO providers, like ad providers, like mindset coaches, like operations providers, like software providers, video providers. These people are out there, and I'm helping them with the IP and this intelligence, and it lives on and goes broad. This is a model I'm so passionate about. I teach this. I mentor people through these deals. Some of these royalties exceed $10,000 per month, just to give you some scope. And so these ideas and systems and network operate through other people's infrastructure with minimal involvement from me. And that's leverage. I mean, that is real leverage through systems. And they don't just work without you. They can work for you even after you've moved on. So you get things going and they continue to go. And as I apply my newest version of my business intelligence machine, my proprietary AI software into these things, the results are coming faster. So what does that look like right now? Well, I enjoy walking through the forest behind my house to the beach here and surfing. Right, this is a critical factor, and I get that daily time to think and reflect and to tune the machine. You can only do that if you are not stuck selling your time by the hour, or you're cranking out looking for that next one deal. Like, and I see this all the time, like the fear, the panic, the stress when someone comes to me with a dumpster fire and they're like, everything I've done doesn't work. I don't have a big list. I don't have any customers. I need traffic. I'm like, you need way more than traffic. You need an offer that converts. Let's start there. What are all your IP? What's your assets? Often there's none. There's no business intelligence built. And that's why I wanted to make this podcast. Start now. Capture your business intelligence. Put it into a system. Apply it to what you're doing and grow it. And then you'll have assets to bring to the table and to snowball off. And then maybe you want to look at royalty deals too. But now I see what's possible. A really leveraged business with business intelligence. So I've got this sort of down to a rough project stream now. I do a situation analysis. I work out what the magic wand scenario is. What are all the pain points and problems? What assets do we have to work with? What liabilities? What constraints? And some people have constraints. They're like, oh, I don't want to be on socials. I don't want to have my face on camera. I don't want to do launches. I don't want to do webinars. I don't want to have affiliates, like all these things. That's fine, because I don't want to do a lot of those things too. So we work with that. And then I come up with a plan. And then we work the plan, and we can create all these assets now. We can create everything from ad sets to landing pages to VSL scripts to email follow-ups to social media posts. Like just all of that, these mentees, I'm just tuning them up with the whole thing, and away we go. That whole system works. And that's what's possible when you can capture your intellectual property. So the sooner you start doing that, the better. And the clearer you get on that, the easier it is to leverage it. So it really turns into an awesome business from fear and panic. Generally, I'm going to steer towards business models I like. And the main 3 types of recurring income are my favorite. There is the royalty share or revenue share. And in fact, affiliate deals fall under revenue share because you usually get paid a percentage of revenue. Retainers, if you're a service business, it's a very simple way to go. And if you're an information expert, then of course memberships and communities, like the couple that I run. I've got Connect and Mentor, and that foundation just ticks along smoothly. You combine them together, you're looking at a 7-figure business with a 10 to 15 hour work week with the modern era of technology. And so I still see people making mistakes, and it's probably worth touching on those. First, they try to systemize everything at once. Like, just start with one process that's causing you the most pain and just build that properly, and then go to the next one. Like, I have projects that I want my team to do, but I don't dump them all on them at once. We just work through them one at a time. We might go and improve our sales pages on my site. Then we might go and do my wife's site. And then we might work with a partner's site. And so project at a time, just take it easy. Second, they're often focusing on the easy stuff. That's another mistake. Like, the easy isn't always correlated with the best results. For example, a lot of people are like, I'm doing my book now, and then I don't see them for another 18 months. And then they do the book and nothing happens anyway. You are not going to get rich off the book. You're going to get rich off what the book brings. You'll get rich off the podcasts that gets you on. You'll get rich off the products that you sell behind it. But I'd say to you, why don't you go on the podcasts and do the products while you're building that book? And what's the first version of the book? What's a lead magnet report that you can generate today that would be more valuable to your client than a book? And just FYI, I've pretty much turned off my free book funnel that I've been running for 3 years, because those leads generally aren't as valuable as people who come from a free recurring training funnel or something else like the podcast show notes download. When I do podcasts, my team will collate it into a bite-sized bullet points and a full transcript, and people opt in for that. That's a better lead magnet for me, because I'm going to do a podcast every week. I'm going to make sure it's valuable. And the easy stuff is not always the best stuff. So when you're documenting processes, don't just work on the ones that don't require thinking. Like, hit the ones that are a little more difficult. That's why the walk to the beach or the surf or the bike ride or the skiing or whatever you do is valuable. You might be tempted to write that off and think, oh, I'm being lazy, I'm not working or whatever. No, it's downtime, it's earthing. It's like, walk barefoot with your feet in the sand, get some salt water around you. It will change you in a way that you can't go back. But start with something that actually requires judgment and thought, and put your energy on that. And the third mistake is they build systems that are trying to be perfect instead of consistent. Probably fair to say I don't think I've built the perfect thing yet. Most of my stuff's an iterative state, maybe an early version of it. I'm now really happy with my membership. I use the platform Kleq, KLEQ.com. And I finally, I've got 3 lots of feedback from clients. Why aren't you using something beautiful like this or that? Well, now it is pretty. I've cleaned it out. We've stripped it down. We've put a similar font through the whole thing. It's just white and black. It's lovely. It's simple. It's the most user-friendly dash. It does everything I want, from the landing pages to the checkout cart to the membership fulfillment to the sounding board for my private members. It's got app access. I love it. I've got it to that point, but it wasn't perfect for the first, 16 years of membership. I have never got it to the point where I'm as happy as I'm happy now with it. And that's because I've worked hard. It was hard work, and we did it. My team did it. I just had the idea. Off client feedback, which is another thing. You will get feedback along the way. Some of it you should reject, some of it you should accept. I always ask, is it true? And yes, my site wasn't the most beautiful, but now it is actually quite beautiful. And so we're getting there. So where do you start? If you listen to this point, you're interested in this topic, pick one area that your team are constantly seeking your input. Like, what's dragging on you? What's the bottleneck, the constraint? And it usually feels like it's always unique, but it will definitely follow patterns. And that's where the AI tool sets that you can create now are phenomenal. For example, I've done about, 30 campaigns in the last 10 days for my clients and partners. Not one of them is the same output because all the inputs were different. The framework's similar, but I have decision logic and I have different frameworks for different problems because I've been able to systemize and map my IP. If I have a simple problem comes in, we use a simple framework, we get a simple output. A really complex problem comes in, we use a complex framework, the output's going to completely different. So ask yourself, how do I document this process and how do I think about this type of situation and then get it out of you? What questions do you ask? What factors you consider? How do you know when to use approach A versus B? Capture that thinking, build tools that your team can apply the same thinking, test and refine. My team are all using AI tools. I'm encouraging it. I'm saying, my team are using everything from Gemini to Grok to Notebook, ChatGPT and Claude and Manus. They're using all of them and the outputs are being trained and tuned constantly. And we meet each week to talk about it. I've got all these different tentacles of our business capturing and refining information around the same cause. We know what our goal is. We want mentor clients and connect members and partners. It's as simple as that. So I'd say within a few weeks, you'll start to see the difference. If you get a tool up and running or you train your team on this, you won't have to do it again for a long time. And that's where you get the compound effect. So simple one for me was transferring podcast edits. That took a big chunk of my time. I'm no good at it and I didn't like it. Good candidate for moving on. And it was difficult to do the training at the first, but once I did it, I've never looked back, and that was like 10 years ago. So you will have a lot more time to do other things and you'll actually get further down the track. And another thing for me, like I didn't want to do one-on-one droning calls all the time. So I built a fantastic async hybrid system. I've got private customized sounding board, got small weekly group calls, and I've got a tool set to die for. With that combination, we'll get results no matter what. I had a client who we put together a campaign a week ago from scratch, and she's generated just under $4,000 with a $280 ad spend. That is magic. So let's just bring this to close. Your business should work harder than you do. I'm absolutely adamant about that. You're going to hear this soundbite from me a lot. But that only happens if you build systems that think and not just like step-by-step executables. So you should document intelligence, not just your activities, and capture how you're making decisions, not just what decisions you're making. And so start with one process and build it properly and then scale that approach. Now, I've been helping founders do this for decades, and it works when you do it right. So that's pretty much it for this episode. I appreciate you being on board the podcast. I'll come to you with something else next week. And also, if you do want some help with this from me, in Connect, you can start a progress journal. Tell me what's going on, and I'll actually apply my tool to help you with your situation. And you can start that for $10. You can also access my other GPTs for $10. And all the details are at jamesschramko.com. If you have a more serious business, so 300,000 plus revenue, or $1 million or $2 million, and you want some deeper help from me, then Mentor is where it's at. In Mentor, I will give you the most incredible business plan, diagnostic, and I'll actually create the assets with you. I'll create your landing page, copy, your offer, your big idea, your email follow-ups, social media posts for you to get started. Like, it's pretty hard to fail if you give me really good inputs. I'll give you an output that would have cost, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Wait 6 months. Now we can do that within an hour or two of you sending me back what I need from you. So that's a good option. I think it's currently way underpriced, $1,800 US. I reserve the right to change that price at any point in the future. If you listen to this in the future, maybe that's even gone by now. I think it's heading that way. There's no question what I'm doing now is worth at least $5,000 per month to the right person.
This is James Schramko.